Divine Audacity. Thank you so much for that song. One of my favorites. And you had the audacity to do it your own way. Beautiful. There's a quote in Linda, I can never say her name properly, but Linda Martella Wissett book called Divine Audacity. Divine audacity is bold spiritual living, living under the radical premise that I am divine. My nature is one with divine nature or God. I am able to boldly express the highest spiritual principles in the middle of everyday situations. I'm courageously responsive. I am fearlessly self-reflective and self-corrective. Divine audacity is being the light in the world, trusting that Spirit will lead and guide you, and taking actions with confidence, knowing that you are supported. I believe that our light shines the brightest when we dare to show up, flaws, imperfections, the human that we are. Brene Brown, in her book, Gifts of Imperfection, says, we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and our most powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. For the first several years of my clinical practice, I followed the leading psychological trends that said that deep feeling of shame and all those feelings of woundedness that we received as children are something to get rid of. And we spent a lot of time purging, yelling, screaming, trying to get rid of those parts of ourselves. And we all felt like failures because we couldn't do it. Then came Brene Brown, my daughter-in-law, who's a psychologist here in Calgary, introduced me to her probably 10, 15 years ago now. And she, to me, revolutionized this thinking. She's a PhD in social work from the University of Texas. And her 10 years of research showed a completely different story. She did research on shame, guilt, love and belonging, connection, and how to live wholeheartedly, in spite of that feeling inside of us that there's something wrong. I'm writing a book presently called Brave Souls, and it's been interesting as I've interviewed and shared with people and talked to people that most acts of bravery come out of fear. We cannot be brave until we feel fear. Fear is sort of the beginning phases of courage. Brene Brown again says, she could not find a single example of courage in her research that was not born completely out of vulnerability. We become audacious by feeling the fear, shining our light anyway, and moving forward in spite of all those flaws and imperfections we're trying to hide. Slide. I brought my Kleenex. This is my friend Jeannie. Jeannie, when I first met her, she auditioned for a musical I was directing. And she came in front, and there's probably 200 people in the room. And she stood there, big smile, and the piano player started playing Jingle Bells, and she just smiled. And we were like, yay! 10 years later, I had to ask Jeannie to be a little quieter when she was on stage, because she was drowning out all 150 of the rest of the cast. Jeannie, my daughter, sitting there crying, passed away 2 weeks ago. She was my sidekick, assistant director, and I'm going to say best friend for 20 years. Jeannie showed up at every community event that was held. She offered her service. She smiled, she worked, and she shared all that she was. She also shared all that you were, because any news I had, the whole town knew it, because Jeannie was the town crier. Everybody knew I was moving way before I told them. Yes, she was brave enough to show up as, someone might call her special needs. Someone might call her odd. I called her a master. I knew she was a master. I have a Buddhist friend who told me, when Jeannie walks by people, they are healed. And if anyone dare be mean to her, whew, bad karma. She was divinely audacious. Yes, you probably know who this is, Rita McNeil. And I have to admit, I didn't follow her and really knew very little about her until she passed away. In fact, one time a client had come to me, stroked my face very lovingly and said, "Oh, you're just like Rita McNeil." I was quite upset because I thought it was the large body, right? And I was like, huh. So I kind of think I avoided her. Too much mirror, right? When she passed, I started watching the news reports, the people around the world that loved her, the people that she had touched with her beautiful lyrical voice, and her story of overcoming being sexually abused. People started telling me how they had to go to her little tea house and meet her because of this beautiful healing that she offered. I started paying attention. Then I heard a news report about how she had stood up to sing at the Toronto Blue Jays game. The Blue Jays won, and the American team, whose nose was out of joint, I'm going to assume, wrote something really mean about her in the newspaper. They said the Canadian team had to get a forklift to have their singer come on stage. Oh my God. When I heard that, I wept and wept. And in that instant, her and I were one. I thought, that is the bravest frickin' woman on the planet. Her response to that, I don't know why people always have to be so mean about my weight. I'm just a woman who wants to sing. And there she was, doing what she showed up to do. And in that moment, I knew, because I believe we are mirrors for one another, I have the same courage as her. I show up. We all have something that makes us feel unworthy to show up. Audacity is showing up anyway. Rita was later quoted as saying, "The next time I sing at a Blue Jays game, I'm insisting that I be brought on the And here, this one is probably going to make me cry. It's my lovely daughter, who comes when I speak to support. And there she is with her partner, Tyler. Some of you may remember last August, 2 weeks before I was to speak, Tyler fell off the building he was working on in Calgary and was killed. Yeah, hard times. And talk about divine audacity. The first thing Kara said to me when I arrived was, "I'm going to be okay, Mom. I'm going to be okay. I was raised by you after all." But then it all came. Every feeling that happens when we lose someone that dear to us, that suddenly 32 years old. All the tears, all the anger, all the confusion. One day Kara called me, probably only a couple weeks after the accident, and said, "Mom, I'm driving to the apartment building where Tyler fell." And my motherly instinct was, "Okay, why are you doing that?" She said, "I don't want to be afraid. So I've made a decision to do everything that scares me. And it really scares me to go there. But I just have to go." She went to that apartment building. She got out. She stood on the sidewalk below. She breathed deeply. She faced her fears. She then told me that everything that scared her about this loss, she was going to do. Every coffee shop that they had sat in and shared coffee, she was going to go and sit, facing her aloneness, facing the fact that she'd lost the love of her life. Every trail that they had run together along the river. All those steps that they, for some reason, like to run up and down, beyond me. She went there, alone. She went to the gym where her and Tyler went every day. She faced all those people looking at her with deep sorrow. Some couldn't speak. They didn't know what to say. Others just smiled. She was so audacious. And because of that audacity, she was able to move through that grief, see the bigger picture about the true connection that exists within us for all of us. And she's not living in fear of being somewhere that might bring up memories. She decided to take that into her own power, into her own hands. That's audacious living. You know, as I started thinking about all of you, because I do picture your faces as I'm thinking about speaking, I started seeing all the audacity in this crowd. I started thinking about Susan and Katie. Oh my gosh, they took Unity that was in debt, unwell, a home for dead dogs, which is a story you can ask them about. And because they were brave and audacious, they created this vibrant, alive, exciting place that we all get to enjoy. Did they have fear and trepidation and doubt? You bet. Did they do it anyway? Did they show up and make mistakes? Probably. No. Maybe not, according to Patty. But they did it anyway. That's what divine audacity is. I always marvel week after week as the band gets up there, and sometimes they start in the wrong key. and they laugh, and Anthony makes a joke or Vivian makes a joke, and then they start over again. That takes courage. That takes audacity. I have to tell you about Merlin. She said I could. I didn't ask the rest of you, so. I asked Merlin because I'm actually putting a piece in my book about Merlin, because she impresses the hell out of me. I met Merlin the first day I came to Unity. She told me she was 70. She just saddled up right beside me and said, I'm 79, and I want to do whatever you're doing. She must have thought I looked fun or something. And since then, we've been pals. We've been prayer partners. And she even came to a workshop that I hosted on sexual healing for women. I was so impressed that she, at her mature age in life, she's still seeking, she's still looking for ways to improve herself. She's really wonderful. When I asked her if I could mention her in my book, she said only if I told the truth about her humanness and her struggles and her flaws, not just all the good stuff. I thought that was brilliant, and it was a good lesson for me. And then when Claude spoke, I don't know if you guys remember the first time I heard him speak, a young man comes all the way across Canada. Spirit was calling him. He had no job, nowhere to live, brings his family, and just comes. That's audacity. Cecil, who I just love, stands at the back there. Are you 85? He's not jealous. He tells me, I want to be a prayer chaplain. I No limits, no boundaries. Ariana walking the El Camino, Marjorie trekking right along beside her. Now she's world famous on Facebook because she doesn't even know what the book face is or the Facebook. You know, and Pat, I have to tell a story about Pat because I find her quite audacious. She was my prayer partner. She's in Ontario, and it was time for me to call her. I called her and she said, well, I'm with a car full of people and we're driving to something, but we're going to pray. And so we prayed. I prayed really hard that they'd be okay. And with all those people listening, Pat just offered this beautiful prayer. She didn't hide who she was. She didn't stop and pull over her car either. But that's another story. That's what divine audacity is. It's not hiding who you are. We all have points of shame within us that make us think, I'm not worthy to be part of this. I'm directing a play with seniors, awesome group, mostly 70s and 80s. Our oldest cast member, 85, told me last week, I've been thinking, she's had a heart attack and a hip replacement since we started rehearsal. She sings like a lounge diva. She's like Vivian, but only 85. She told me last week, I was thinking you probably wouldn't really miss me because you've got so many really good singers. So I brought us to circle, and I said, none of you are getting away with not doing this because each of you is necessary. Nobody can bring what you bring. Nobody. Somebody may sing better, be smarter, look prettier, look skinnier, but they're not you. They are not you. I want to see you. That's divine audacity. Saying, here, look who I am. Most of us are saying, is it okay? I'm saying, hell yeah! Stand up and say, I am divine audacity. When I read this book, I was just wanting to jump for joy because I could feel that coursing through me. You are that. You are. My favorite guy, Leo Pascali, used to say, you'll only be second best trying to be someone else. Being yourself, warts and all, flaws and all, is the most audacious, brave thing you'll ever do. Show up, people. Shine. Let the world see you. The world needs you. You're a blessing. Your light will change the world. So I'm going to lead you into